Documentary filmmaker Barbara Kopple is here. Film critic Janet Maslin of the New York Times once said about Barbara, her work is as important as it is good. Her films about labor strikes, 1977's Harlan County, USA, and 1989's American Dream, each won her Academy Awards. But her latest effort is about an entirely different subject. A look at the European tour of Woody Allen's jazz band. Here's a trailer for the film.
In reality,
are you ready?
I'm lost. This whole trip between the fans and the responses and the places, it's the same photo, no?
Joining me now, Barbara Kopple. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. It's great to be here with you.
Great title, too.
Well, it comes from a Louis Armstrong and Joseph Morton song.
Why did you decide first, you, to do this after all the things that you and I have talked about before, whether it's labor strikes or Mike Tyson, all the kinds of things that have piqued your interest?
Well, this is one that I didn't decide to do. I mean, I didn't wake up one morning and say, aha, I have to do this. Yes. A friend of mine from Chicago called. His name is Jim Stern. He's a really good theater producer. He did Bunny Bunny, and he did Diary of Anne Frank and Stomp. And he just called and he said, so, do you want to go on tour with Woody Allen? And I went, yeah, right. And he said, no, I'm very serious. It's 23 days, 18 different European cities. It's a jazz tour. Are you game? And I said, absolutely.
I'll do it.
Yeah, and then 2 days later, Letty Aronson, Woody's sister, who's also one of the stars of the film, called and said, you want to meet Woody? And I said, sure, why not? And I went over to Woody's, and the two of us sat and talked like we're talking now. And for 30 minutes, he did not mention the tour once. Not a word. He's talking about, we had a friend in common, David Blaine, who's a great magician, and, you know, philosophy. I mean, we may even talked about the weather. And finally, all this time elapsed, and I figured, I have to say something. So I said, Woody, are you looking forward to going on this tour? And suddenly, he woke up, and he said, I don't want to go. I said, what do you mean you don't want to go? He said, it was planned 2 years ago. He said, there are too many dates. I don't want to go. I'm going to cities I've never gone to in my life. And I knew it was going to be fun from that moment.
Now, why did you know from what he said there?
Oh, because I figured this is not going to be a dull guy.
Okay.
This is going to be a guy that's going to expose it all, and I'm going to do my best to get to see it.
And did it turn out that way for you?
Absolutely. I had total access to do whatever I wanted. I had a wireless microphone on him all the time. We were with him 16 to 18 hours a day and ready to roll at a moment. The DP, Tom Hurwitz, who also won a cinematography award at Sundance, he has worked with me on all my films, and we have this secret language. When I do this on his shoulder, it means roll, and when I do this, it means cut, and we're always ready to go.
Now, when would you give him a cut? When it's just boring and you don't want it and you think you're just eating
we have
film?
enough. We have enough.
So what did you come away with that you didn't know going in about him?
A lot. One of the big things is that Woody, when he's in control, is like a guy of steel. He's a very habitual person. He loves to walk the streets of New York. He loves to practice his clarinet. He likes to read. He likes to have fabulous dinners. And when you take him out of his very safe, protected environment, he becomes very fragile. And he was going to cities he had never gone to before. He didn't know who would be around the corner. Paparazzi, fans, sometimes the architecture freaked him out, like in Bologna, because he likes wide open spaces, and closed-in spaces make him really nervous.
So you knew that about him. What about what makes him tick and what drives his artistry?
Well, Woody Allen is a perfectionist, and he would never have gone on this tour unless he thought he could play music very well. Sometimes he'll say things like, oh, well, I'm not very good, and sometimes I see that as Woody being an optimist in drag. But he is good, and when you watch him play, for example, it's as if he plays with sheer abandon, and he just loses himself in his music, and he looks so young while he's playing.
Did he teach you anything about filmmaking?
No. doing nonfiction films to those that do fiction films are just the opposite. There's no script,
Right.
and there are real people. And so we're like these aliens that come from outer space and land, and he wouldn't even know when we were rolling most of the time.
Do you want to do feature films, fiction? Do you wanna-
Absolutely. I'm about to.
You
I'm
are?
about to do 2 fiction films, yes. You wanna-
Driven by scripts that you like
that I
and
love,
approve of?
That I love.
And are you into the casting thing already?
Yes, on one of them.
You like that?
I too like that. I like it very much.
Do you think making documentaries is good training for a feature film? We'll find out, won't we?
I think it is. I've done a couple of homicides.
Yeah.
I did some stuff for Turner, some fiction stuff.
Right.
And in making nonfiction films, what drives you is a storyline, being able to tell a story, being able to find something that's real and taking an audience on a journey. And that's very much like you do in fiction films. You want to go for the grit. You want to go for the reality.
What separates those documentarians? This is Vanity Fair magazine, the May 1998 issue, and somewhere in here there's a picture of all of you guys. You and Fred Wiseman and Penny Baker and Ken Burns and everybody else. What separates those that are good from those that are great?
I don't think I can answer that. I think that each one of us who does nonfiction films does it because we have a great passion and a great vision for the work that we do. And the way that I look at it is maybe I'll never be lucky enough to do another film, and so I better make this the best that I can.
But what have you got to have to do it well?
I think you have to have perseverance, you have to have passion, and you have to have commitment, and you have to be very fast and very, good at being able to toss out everything you've studied and everything you've researched about what you're doing. And life takes you and you go with it.
And the best stuff you've ever got was unprepared and unexpected.
It's always that way. I wouldn't like to have anything that was prepared.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Well, I mean in terms of you preparing yourself. I mean, if you go into Woody doing a concert, playing at a club, you know what the scene is. You know pretty much what it's going to be if you're shooting that, correct?
Not totally. Because, for example, in Michael's Pub or the Carlisle Cafe,
where he plays here in New York.
Yes. Woody would go in, not say a word, just pick up and play and go home. In Europe, the tickets were sold out in 3 hours. It was standing room only. People are yelling, Woody, Woody. And he's doing comedy on the stage with the people.
He's doing stand-up lines.
Yes, he's flirting with them. And one woman wanted to go with him, and he, said that in English, and he's blowing kisses to the crowd, and that was surprising.
He's a perfectionist.
Totally.
Let me take a look at Woody Allen performing with his jazz band, New Orleans Jazz. Here it is. Take a look. Why does he do this, the music?
He loves it. He's been playing since he's been 15. He practices every day. He loves it. It lets him escape. He doesn't have to think about anything. He just lets himself go. He says in the film, it's something that's not cerebral. I can just get into it and move with it.
It's all emotional, instinctive, and has a flow that
absolutely
builds on its own time.
Yes, yeah. And for Woody Allen, that doesn't happen very often because he is so cerebral. He is so internal.
One more clip. This is a hotel in Bologna. Set this up. This is where the crowd's gathered outside.
Okay, we're in Bologna.
Right.
And this is a place that he's totally fearful of because of the architect, narrow streets and, medieval buildings. And he also says in this scene, too, he's sitting there and he's feeling very depressed. And Suni tenderly says, "What's the matter? Are you tired?" And he said, "No, I'm depressed." And his sister Letty said, "But you're in Bologna. You want to be here." And
Italy,
said,
for God's sake.
Right. And he says, "Well, actually, I'm not looking forward to it." He said, "Because it really makes me frightened to be in a place like this." He said, and so then Suni said, "Well, you shouldn't say that to the people." And he said, "What do you mean I shouldn't say that?" "All right, maybe I should just take 2 Valiums and then I can learn to love the place." So here he is in Bologna, peeking out of the window, and in a strange way, this is sort of like an inside look at what it means to be famous and what it means to be confronted with thousands of fans that are outside screaming, "Woody, Woody!" And he's peeking out. Then he comes away, and Suni and Letty, his sister, are saying things to him like, well, you have to at least go out there and wave. You don't have to open the door, but at least say hello. He said, but what if they're not there for me? What if they're there for somebody else? Like
Roll
Mick
tape.
Jagger.
Here it is.
Time?
I don't think they know.
You think they just camped out?
Yeah.
Maybe when you come back into the hotel, before you come upstairs, you could just go to the front door.
What did you grow to understand about the relationship?
I felt that the relationship with Suni and Woody had a lot of truthfulness in it. And this is the first time we've ever seen Suni speak, ever. And she is a woman who speaks her own mind. She says things to him even though maybe he doesn't even want to hear them. For example, they're sitting in a breakfast in Madrid, and she's in her bathrobe and he's dressed, and they're both sitting on pillows, and it sort of looks like a Harold Pinter play, the way that they're set up. And she said, I thought the band did very well last night, didn't you? He said, yeah, they played very well. She said, well, did you thank them? And he said, well, I think I did. And then she said, well, a compliment is always nice. And, you know, then you see him the next night, and he still doesn't thank the band, but at least she's really speaking out. And also I think that the film, for me, is a lot about youth and age, and that Woody would rather sort of just hang tight and write, and that Suni would love to go out, and she brings him out, and they go on so-called romantic gondolier rides, they go swimming, she takes him to fashion shows, shopping, and parties, so she allows him to always be on the go.
She has changed him, or at least made him consider other...
She has made him consider...
modification in lifestyle.
Yeah, she has made him consider other things. He goes with her, and he's always trying to charm her. So he wants to be part of her life.
What does she do?
Well, she's a student at Columbia University studying education, and she's trying to make it in her own way.
Anything that you couldn't put in the film?
Nothing. In fact, our first cut was 11 and a half hours.
When you follow him around,
Yes.
how long did it take for him not to be conscious of the camera?
I think he was not conscious of the camera almost right away, because this is Woody Allen in crisis. He is not home. I'm not entering into his private home or anything that he's doing. He is on this tour where surviving from day to day is what's important to him. And so he just totally forgot about us.
Surviving is what's important?
Absolutely. Getting through the day in a strange city.
Yeah.
You know, how is he going to do his laundry? Where is he going to eat? You know, what's this town like? What's in store for him? What strangers does he have to confront? This is what he's going through, because every single day we're in a different city.
He loves Venice and Paris.
He loves Venice and Paris, yes. But he forgot about us. I mean, we were just always there. We became like part of the family. And because he had a wireless mic on, he wouldn't even really know when we were rolling.
Do you want, for example, to be walking down, say, alongside the Seine, talking to him and just having a conversation?
No, I would never want to walk down and talk to him. The
Why
way
not?
that I try to make my films is so that you, the audience, forget that there's a camera. And it's as if you're experiencing life from his point of view. It's as if you're seeing life unfold. And that's what's totally important to
Then
me.
how do you get him to respond to the things that you care about inquiring about?
In this film, I would ask questions
Off
occasionally.
camera and let him...
Yes. And I used Letty, his sister, as a foil and would whisper in her ear things I wanted her to ask him. So that was how I got around.
Wildman Blues, the story of Woody Allen on tour. Vanity Fair has a whole story about documentarians, some of the people that bring to you cinema verite at its best. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Always. Back in a moment. Stay with us.